That little yellow horseshoe-shaped light on your dashboard is completely lying to you, and it is quietly eating a massive hole in your wallet right now. You have probably been setting your tire pressure completely wrong for your entire driving life, and this single easily avoidable mistake is secretly ruining your expensive tires, hurting your fuel economy, and turning your car's highway handling into an absolute nightmare. Statistical data shows that roughly 80% of drivers on the road today are rolling around with the wrong tire pressure. That means if 10 people are watching this video right now, 8 of them are throwing their hard-earned cash straight out the window. I know exactly what you are thinking right now. You look at the stickers inside your driver's side door jamb, you see that it asks for 32 PSI, and you fill your tires to exactly 32 PSI. You follow the rules to the letter, so what could possibly be wrong with that? The honest answer is that almost everything is wrong with it. That little door sticker does not tell you the whole truth, and the slight difference between what that sticker says and what your tires actually physically need is costing you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars over the lifespan of your vehicle. The truth about that factory door sticker is going to completely change how you look at vehicle maintenance. That printed number is not the optimum, magical sweet spot for your specific tires. It is not even close. That specific number is actually the absolute minimum safe pressure calculated for the absolute maximum physical payload your car can carry. When automotive engineers design a vehicle like a Toyota Camry, a Honda Civic, or a Ford F-150, they have to calculate the tire pressure based on the absolute worst-case driving scenario. They assume you are going to pack the cabin with 4 heavy adults. They assume you are going to stuff the trunk completely full of heavy luggage, maybe throw a cargo box on the roof, and then merge onto the interstate and cruise at 75 miles per hour for hours on end. The engineers calculate the absolute bare minimum air pressure required to safely support all of that extreme weight without the tire losing its structural integrity, overheating, or physically separating from the metal wheel rim. That minimum safe baseline number for a fully loaded vehicle is exactly what gets printed on the factory door sticker. For most standard commuter cars, that number usually sits somewhere right around 32 to 35 PSI. But here is the critical question that the dealership never bothers to ask you. How often do you actually drive your vehicle fully loaded to its absolute maximum weight capacity? If you are like most drivers, the reality is drastically different. Most days, it is just you sitting behind the steering wheel. Maybe you have a laptop bag resting on the passenger seat, or a couple of lightweight grocery bags sitting in the trunk. Your vehicle is literally hovering around 1,000 pounds lighter than the maximum rated capacity that the door sticker was originally based on. Being that much lighter completely changes the physical dynamics of how your rubber physically interacts with the asphalt. Before we break down the exact mathematical formula you need to find the perfect tire pressure for your own daily commute, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button if you want to keep your vehicle out of the expensive repair shops. We share real, practical garage advice every single week, so join the community right now. Let me tell you a personal story about how I learned this mechanical lesson the incredibly hard way. A few years ago, I spent roughly $800 on a premium set of all-season tires that were heavily advertised with a 50,000-mile treadwear warranty. I wanted these tires to last, so I did everything exactly by the book. I checked the air pressure with a digital gauge on the first weekend of every single month, keeping them precisely at the 32 PSI recommended by my door sticker. I even took the car into the shop every 6 miles religiously to have the tires rotated and balanced. But right around the 15,000 mile mark, the car started behaving strangely. It felt incredibly sloppy on highway off-ramps, and the front end would understeer heavily if I took a corner with any kind of I assumed the rubber compound was just going through a weird heat cycle phase. The next time I went in for a routine rotation, the head mechanic called me over to the vehicle lift. The sight was absolutely brutal. The outer shoulders on all 4 of my expensive tires were completely bald. The thick tread blocks were gone, scrubbed all the way down to the horizontal wear indicator bars. The direct middle of the tire still looked brand new with plenty of deep tread depth, but the outer edges were physically shredded. The mechanic looked at me and said it was no longer safe to drive on the highway in the rain, and that I needed to buy a completely new set of tires immediately. I was throwing away $800 at just 1/3 of the promised lifespan. I asked the mechanic where I went wrong since I followed the manual perfectly. He asked me a single question, which was what air pressure I kept them at. I proudly told him 32 PSI, exactly what the door sticker demanded. He shook his head and told me that was the exact reason my tires were destroyed. The physical rule he explained to me completely shattered everything I thought I knew about vehicle maintenance. When you run that factory minimum standard pressure on a lightly loaded daily commuter car, the tire simply cannot maintain its proper rigid shape. The rubber sidewalls bow outward and flex far more than they should. The contact patch, which is the actual footprint of rubber touching the road, spreads out way too aggressively. But the most destructive part of this equation is something you cannot even see from the outside. Because the pressure is too low for the light weight of the car, the direct center of the tread slightly lifts off the pavement. When that center section lifts, the entire 2-ton weight of your vehicle violently transfers directly onto the outer shoulders of the tire. Those small outer edges are suddenly forced to do all the heavy lifting. They have to handle all the cornering forces, all the heavy braking, and all the acceleration torque. Naturally, because they are doing triple the work, they scrub against the rough asphalt and wear out 3 times faster than the center tread. It is exactly like taking a partially deflated birthday balloon and pressing it down against the kitchen counter. The center caves completely inward, and only the outer ring touches the surface. Every single mile you drive like that, the center of your tire is just going for a relaxed ride while the outer shoulders are violently sanding away their valuable rubber onto the highway. There is another massive mistake people make that compounds this problem, which is relying entirely on the dashboard tire pressure monitoring system to tell them when to add air. You cannot trick yourself into thinking everything is fine just because the little yellow light is not illuminated. By federal design standards, those electronic sensors usually will not trigger a dashboard warning until your tire pressure drops a full 25% below the door. Sticker recommendation: if your door says 32 psi, that light is not going to turn on until your tire drops down to 24 psi. Let me be perfectly clear. 24 psi is not a gentle maintenance reminder, it is a blazing red fire alarm. At that critically low level, your tire is dangerously underinflated. The sidewalls are flexing so violently at highway speeds that the internal heat buildup can easily cause the structural steel belts to snap, leading to a catastrophic blowout at 70 miles per hour. By the time that little dashboard light finally decides to warn you, you have already spent weeks actively grinding your tires into dust. I'm about to explain the exact method to calculate the perfect pressure setting for your specific tires. But right before we get into the final solution, make sure you hit the like button on this video so we know to keep producing these deep dive mechanical tutorials for you. So what is the actual correct pressure? Most people get this entirely wrong because they think the car dictates the pressure, but the correct pressure is actually heavily dependent on the physical tire itself. Every single tire has specific engineering data molded directly into the rubber sidewall. If you walk out to your car right now and look closely at the tire, you will find small raised lettering that says something like maximum pressure 50, PSI cold, or maximum load 400 pounds at 44 PSI. That number is the absolute upper engineering limit that the specific tire can safely handle. If your door sticker says 32, but your premium tire is built to handle 50 PSI, you are absolutely not chained to that low 32 number. For maximum tread longevity, perfectly even wear, sharper steering response, and improved fuel economy, the ideal sweet spot is usually 2 to 4 PSI above the factory door sticker, assuming you usually drive alone or with just one passenger. So instead of blindly using 32 PSI, bumping your tires up to 35 or 36 PSI forces the center of the tread back down firmly against the pavement, giving you a full, perfectly even contact patch. A lot of drivers hear numbers like 36 or 38 PSI and immediately panic, thinking they are going to severely overinflate the tire and cause it to pop like a bomb when they hit a pothole. We need to clear up this massive piece of misinformation. Overinflating a tire means you are physically exceeding the maximum limit printed on the rubber sidewall. If your tire sidewall says 50 PSI maximum and you attach an air compressor and pump it up to 55 PSI, that is true overinflation and it is extremely dangerous. The ride will become bone-jarring, and the excess pressure can cause the tire to bulge or rupture upon impact. But if your tire is structurally rated for 50 PSI, setting your daily pressure to 36 PSI is not even utilizing 75% of its total capacity. You are completely within the safest possible engineering margins. You are simply bringing the tire closer to its optimum operating range. You also have to understand how environmental temperatures completely manipulate your tire pressure behind your back. Every time the outside temperature drops 10 degrees Fahrenheit, your tires silently lose about 1 full PSI of pressure. If you set your tires perfectly in the blazing heat of July and never check them again, by the time a freezing November morning rolls around, You could easily be driving on dangerously soft tires without even realizing it. You also absolutely must check your tire pressure in the morning after the vehicle has been sitting completely still in your driveway overnight. Do not drive 5 miles to the local gas station, use their beat-up air compressor, and expect an accurate reading. Driving creates friction. Friction generates heat, and that heat expands the air inside your tire, artificially raising the gauge reading by 3 to 5 psi. If you bleed air out to hit your target number while the tires are hot, you will wake up the next morning to underinflated tires. After learning all of this the hard way, I decided to run my own personal experiment. I bought the exact same brand and model of premium tires to replace the ones I destroyed. I kept my driving habits exactly the same and drove the exact same daily commute. The only variable I changed was setting my cold tire pressure to 36 psi instead of the factory 32 psi. The results were undeniable. I easily cleared 50,000 miles on that set of tires, and when I finally replaced them, the tread was worn down perfectly flat and even from shoulder to shoulder. There was zero abnormal wear on the outer edges. Beyond the massive savings on rubber, I also noticed an immediate drop in fuel costs. When a tire is underinflated, it sags and drags on the asphalt, forcing your engine to work much harder to overcome that heavy rolling resistance. By optimizing the pressure, my vehicle went from averaging 31 mpg up to an impressive 33 mpg. That is a massive long-term improvement in fuel efficiency, just from adding a tiny bit of free air. Automotive systems are frequently designed to protect the manufacturer from lawsuits in worst-case scenarios, not to save you money on preventative maintenance. Now it is time for you to walk out to your driveway, find the maximum pressure limit stamped on your sidewall, and dial in that sweet spot for your own daily driving habit. You will immediately feel the steering become sharper, the car will roll smoother, and you will definitely see the financial difference over the next few years. I want to hear from you now. Drop down into the comments and tell me what kind of vehicle you are driving right now, what exact tire per you currently run, or if you have ever accidentally ruined an expensive set of tires because the edges wore completely bald. Let's just get a great conversation going down below. Thank you so much for hanging out in the garage with me today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on your way out, and I will see you in the next video.